Well, good morning. Welcome to the network call. I'm Eric Thompson. I work for Move Minnesota. We host the network call. Today is the 3rd. And on today's agenda, we'll do the welcome and intro. We are here. We're going to have a MnDOT update, and then we're going to talk walk bike fun programming and updates. We'll try a little polls feature that I'm new to, so bear with me as I work through this tech, but I'm excited for it. And then we'll talk about next month's call, which we are dubbing the Safe Route Social. So before I forget, since we're a bike heavy day today, not next week, 2 weeks from now, the Walk Bike leadership call will be happening, and it's going to be talking about being your whole self while on the bike from 2 very rad cyclists. The community spotlight will be the Fond du Lac reservation, and the link is there, and I'll also drop it in the chat to go sign up. So if you want to get more bikes than you're going to get today, you should check out that call. But with that, I'm just going to get us going and switch it over to Dave. You are muted if you're speaking, Dave.
Usually I'm better about that. I was just saying I was trying to get my screen share up, so that's perfect. Hey folks, the active transportation joke I thought of while you were doing your introduction, Eric, not that I wasn't paying attention, because I'm psyched for that bike leadership network call. I plan to be on it. Is because my kid's name is Isabel. And so it's knock, knock. Who's there? Isabel. Is that a bell on your bike? Or is a bell on your bike? Oh, man, it's all about timing, isn't it? Delivery, blew it. Anyway, hi folks. I'm Dave Cowan. I am the Safe Routes Coordinator here at MnDOT, just with a couple of updates. I see faces from folks that were on last month, so please bear with me if I'm repeating some information, because I know that we also have faces here that were not here last month regarding a couple of things that we've got going on at the Minnesota Department of Transportation. The first is that we still have these solicitations wrapping up. I know that there's a lot of you on the call that are wondering, what's going on with them? When will you know more? And I plan to give you a little bit of an update on that. We've had both our planning assistance solicitation, our boost implementation grants, as well as infrastructure solicitations, both through the state and through TA. And we expect to be announcing these awards this month, if you haven't already heard something for that matter. A reminder that our planning grant solicitation received 19 applicants from around the state. 12 of those fell into the metro or areas that do not have regional development commissions, and the other 7 fell in areas with regional development commissions. And we received 12 applications for boost implementation grants from around, this is sorted by MnDOT district, which isn't exactly intuitive to everybody in the world, but this is where they fell on the map to the left here around the state. So we were happy to see that we were getting applications from all around. And then our state infrastructure solicitation wrapped up. We received 55 applications. I saw Mitch log on here, who runs this solicitation for MnDOT. There was about $17.5 million in grant requests. And we are expecting all award letters to be out by March 4th. Something that I was bumped into myself again and wanted to just remind folks of, especially those of you that are waiting to hear back on this infrastructure solicitation and happen to live or work in the metro, is that there is, we talk often on here about the state infrastructure solicitation, and of course we're talking about the TA federal federally funded infrastructure solicitation that happens in greater Minnesota. But because the Met Council does it every other year, I think sometimes we lose track of the fact that the Met Council also holds a solicitation that Safe Routes to School is eligible for. It is the same funding source that our TA solicitation in greater Minnesota funds. And so they just opened up their solicitation actually. So it feels like there's always a solicitation open. It might be because there is one constantly open, which is a good thing. It means that there's money out there and interest in making your communities more walkable and bikeable. So a couple of things on the regional solicitation. Maybe you got bad news on your state-funded infrastructure application. This is kind of your second try, I would say. It is a little bit more complicated, in fact, maybe quite a bit more complicated to apply to the Met Council regional solicitation versus perhaps the state Safe Routes to School infrastructure solicitation. But they do have all the information you need on their website, which I'll drop a link for when I'm done talking. That is complete with webinars and frequently asked questions and guides on how to go through the application process. This year, they have a range of between 16 million and 36 million available for bicycle and pedestrian facilities, which is not, which includes Safe Routes to School, but is not only Safe Routes to School. So Safe Routes will be a portion of that. And that number tends to flex based on some decisions they make there at the Met Council as the applications come in. Unlike perhaps our state solicitation, the limits are different. So your project needs to be above $250,000 or $250,000, $250,000, and $1 million would be the limits for the projects submitted there. You do have to come up with a 20% local match. It is federally funded at 80%, and those applications are due by April 14th. It's worth noting that if your project that you're putting forth crosses MnDOT right-of-way, you need to have requests into our Metro office for a letter of support from that road authority by March 21st. So that's a tighter deadline if it's a project you're looking at that affects MnDOT right-of-way. There was one other piece there that I wanted to make sure and share with you. Maybe it's the link. I'll send the link here in a moment if Kelly hasn't already beat me to it. So please consider the Met Council's regional solicitation. Safe Routes to School is an eligible activity. Their scoring is a little bit different than how we handle projects here at MnDOT, but it's worth taking a look at. We also closed our window for our demonstration project technical assistance opportunity, the one that was active transportation and Safe Routes to School eligible. The good news for those of you that did apply is that it was a smaller pool. I suspect, schools there's a lot going on in schools right now. And so we've been seeing a lower number of applications from most of our solicitations, with the exception of infrastructure. And just a reminder that we'll make those decisions here in the coming weeks and get back with those applicants, as well as knowing that there will be another window for applications this coming fall.
Hey, Dave, quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
The 8 submissions, are those across both active transportation and Safe Routes, or just Safe Routes?
Yes, 2 active transportation submissions and 6 Safe Routes submissions.
Thank you.
And then one last note, I know a lot of you did something for Winter Walk to School Day, even if it was small. We did extend the deadline for photos. I know that my kids' school had to cancel 2 separate Winter Walk to School Day events because of the wind chills being below a -10 degrees. So we extended the deadline for photos in case you happen to reschedule yours on a date that was worked a little better for schools in your community to win the Golden Snow Boot Award. So you have till the end of today. If you had a great event or you're aware of one in your community, please shoot us some photos, maybe a little background on what your school did for the Winter Walk to School Day and what made it great. You can send those to saferoutes.dot@state.mn.us. And then just when we get done thinking about one Safe Routes to School Day event, we start thinking about the next one, which is Bike to School Day. It'll be Wednesday, May 4th. You can register at walkbiketoschool.org, or you can jump over to the Minnesota Safe Routes to School Resource Center, where we have all kinds of resources you can download to market this, to get people engaged and thinking about bicycling in the springtime. And I think I mentioned you can download some of our marketing toolkit, which has social media ads and posters for around the school. I personally use them at my kids' school. It's really easy to just send that over to folks, and they start running it on their social media and printing stuff up for the hallways and whatnot. And then finally, our poster contest for Bike to School Day has existed. If you're not aware of what it is, we asked students to see if I can get the statement right. Describe the feeling of riding a bicycle in a image, and they can paint it, and they can use markers or pencils or whatever and send those into us. We have the materials also on the website to walk a student through how to apply and what to do. And this year it's sponsored by both Minnesota Safe Routes to School and Quality Bicycle Products. So students that win, our top 3 winners, as they did back maybe in 2019, will receive kind of a prize pack from Quality Bicycle Products that includes things like a bike, a backpack, and lights, and a bell. I can't remember all the things that are in the prize pack, but we'll get better about marketing that as we get closer to Bike to School Day. And that's what we got for MnDOT updates. Anybody have any questions? Cool. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dave. Well, without any questions, we'll just move along to CJ, who's going to talk to us a little bit about Bike Walk Fun programming and give us a little bit of updates from Bike and Med.
Okay, hopefully you're seeing my screen right now.
Yep.
Thumbs up, perfect. Well, welcome, or thanks everybody. My name is CJ. I'm the education manager at Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota. I believe I've worked with many of you on the call, but not everybody. So my hope today is to kind of give a quick update about the education programming that we do around Safe Routes to School. And if you have not yet been involved with it, hope to invite you in. And if you have, spread the good word. Some things are new since we may have spoken last. So if you're not yet familiar with the Walk Bike Fun program, this is our Safe Routes to School education package. It's meant for implementation in schools, although we've been finding that a lot of people are implementing it outside of schools as well. So it was kind of created for physical education teachers to use during the school day. And we're finding that outside of school programs are taking advantage and finding this really useful too. So after school care, summer camps, the service day kind of programming, all good opportunities to get kids moving and get on bikes. The curriculum has been used since 2013 was when we first started piloting it. And we've been training teachers around the state to use it. We estimate that around 100,000 students a year right now have access to this program. And our hope is that ultimately every student in the state will complete walking and biking education at some point during their academic careers. So there's benefits for students. We also want teachers to know that there's great reasons for them to do it as well. So all kinds of reasons or benefits for participating in the Walk Bike Fun program. Safe Routes to School, the Department of Transportation program, really makes it easy and convenient for anybody who is in a position to use this to do so. All the curriculum's available freely. We can download it on the website. You'll see lots of links here to walkbikefund.org website. That's where, if you are looking for more information, or if one of the things I mentioned during this presentation is of interest, or if you want to sign up for something, that website will be the place to find that at. That is something that we also had developed within the past year or so. So it's still new and exciting for us. And I want to make sure that we're directing people to that. So the curriculum is available freely. The trainings are free. All the services around it and support is all free and supported through the MnDOT Safe Routes program. So we're really looking to make this accessible and convenient for people to access. And at the same time, learning and understanding what are continuing to be barriers, so that we can do even better to make sure people are able to take advantage of this cool program. New for 2022, we've been revising and updating the lessons. So the original curriculum was 12 lessons. It will now be 24 lessons. So it's getting bigger. It's getting differentiated by grade level. In the past, we kind of had directed folks that younger students would be most suited for the pedestrian lessons. And then as they age up, they can move into the bike lessons. What we are now doing is any teacher who's got any level of students will find something that is going to be age appropriate for them. So even if you're a junior high physical education teacher, there will be both pedestrian lessons and bike lessons that are relevant for you. So we're excited for that. We've also been updating the content in the lessons. So, and some of the, the new stuff is highlighted here. The content updates are driven both by evaluation, learning and asking folks who've been using it, what they would like to see, how we can improve it. And as well, we had a review committee that includes teachers and experts from around the state. And actually we reached out to folks around the country as well who are doing similar work to get the latest and greatest best practice around that. So the status with the new curriculum is that it's currently with the printer or the person who's kind of doing the final layout. And so we expect to have that back at some point this spring. We don't have a set date yet. They haven't given us that yet, but we've been working with them over the past couple of months, and they are in the process of mocking that up and getting that finalized. So that is forthcoming, and we're excited for that to be able to share that with you all. And as soon as that is ready, we'll have a little bit more detail. I think the plan here will be to kind of go through some of the specifics, so we can kind of walk through specifically like what's new in the lessons and how that all will work. But so that will be coming this spring. We may, well, I don't know if it'll be next month or after that, but we'll plan to share that here on this call as well. So in terms of the ways that we roll this out or make this available, I mentioned it is available as a download, so folks can just access the curriculum. Currently, it's the one we've been using that's available on the website. Download it, use it however you would like. We have recommendations, but there's no stipulations or requirements. So if you are in a unique program and you are want to use the lessons in a way that works best for you, we fully support that. We also want to make it, easy and convenient. And so one of the main things that we hear from teachers is that this is new and they would like a little bit of direction or help with that. And so something that has been really important and useful has been offering training for that. Pre-pandemic, this training was offered as a full day training, so teachers would take a day out of school. We do offer substitute teacher reimbursement. That continues to be a thing. So if teachers need to miss classroom time to participate or attend a training, we're able to compensate with a set dollar amount going back to the school for substitute teacher pay. During the pandemic, we needed to shift this training model when we weren't able to do in-person events. And so we developed kind of a hybrid model of training where we moved some parts of the education online and then had a later part that was the hands-on instruction that goes through the lessons. So right now what that looks like, is we have a self-paced online asynchronous, so do it your own pace, take your time, do it whenever it's convenient for you, learning platform. The specific platform we use is Thinkific. Registration for that, again, is going to be on the website, and somewhere here in the slides, I've got a link, so I've asked Eric to drop in the actual registration
Gotcha.
link. If you navigate through the Walk Like Fun page, you'll find your way to a link that looks hopefully what you're seeing soon in the chat box here. But so that is something that you can sign up for anytime. You can go complete the lessons at your own pace. It kind of gives you the background or the context, educator knowledge for what you should know in terms of teaching cycling to students. And then after you've done the online portion, then we do have an on-bike in-person portion for the trainings. Over the past couple of years, we've been modifying this and learning and studying what happens. So the last couple of years, we were doing a 3-part where we would do a virtual like review session, part 2, and then part 3 would be the on-bike drills. We found that at each step, basically, we would have drop off, and folks would, it is a challenge to complete 3 separate steps, and so it was more efficient and more appealing for teachers to be able to have fewer steps. So I think that reducing the time by enabling some of the learning to happen outside of a set schedule or outside of a learning day is great. But then ultimately we do want to be on bikes so that we can do some of those hands-on. And that's really where the value for the training is some of the practical experience. And so now that's kind of consolidated again. At the in-person training, we spent some time reviewing concepts from the Thinkific platform, making sure that folks feel solid with that knowledge. And then we mostly are doing the on-bike skills. So going through the lessons, teachers are practicing teaching. So we'll break out. We have some opportunity to both learn and teach some of the lessons, experience that. We do also include a group ride portion of that. And so I think that for a lot of folks, one of the things that they are most excited for is just the opportunity to take students out and get them off campus and go somewhere and do something. That is an exciting, attractive activity. And it takes a bit to build up to that. So there's a lot that goes into the preparation before teachers and students are ready for an offsite experience. And so we do some training around riding with a group and doing an off-campus trip. The part 2, training, the in-person portion, we're trying to keep it to a half day, but there's just so much content there. So we're going to spill over a little bit, depending on the time of day we schedule it and whether we do a lunch break in the middle. The training time will be somewhere around 5 to 6 hours. Those are basically scheduled as well. There's a competitive application process for scheduling those. And so what we're looking, there's several factors that go into just where we decide to host a training. One of the biggest ones, though, is the teachers that are available and interested in a given area. And so with having the online registration, we're able to kind of see or peek into who's ready and who's prepared to attend the training. And then we can schedule something that will hopefully be convenient and conducive to get those folks the in-person training that they need. We currently have a application available for the trainings, and it's kind of a rolling application. We'll do about 10 to 12 per year. In the past, those have kind of fallen roughly in like May and September, October season, but more recently we've been kind of filling in the time in between. So summer is actually hadn't been an attractive time to host a training, and more recently we're seeing that folks are interested and available to do it then. So our training season has kind of grown longer as well. But so if you have teachers in your area who would be interested or could benefit from doing this, encourage them to sign up. And then also, if you're able to help work with the Bike Alliance to host a training, that means kind of helping us identify a facility and also doing promotion sharing folks if this opportunity is available and getting people to attend. We would love to work with you. The application again there is on the website, and hopefully we get the specific link dropped into the chat, or we'll do that soon. So that's happening now. Again, we're planning to host 5 or 6 trainings this spring, and probably 5 or 6 later on in the year between summer and fall. And we will be happy to work with you all and go where it is needed. We will have some time for questions after too. So I'm going to kind of just fly through the rest of the slides here, and then anything that you'd like clarification or more information on, I'd be happy to share more. And the last slide is just my contact info, so I'm happy to connect outside of this call as well. Other things that we're offering to facilitate or support the teaching of this lessons is technical assistance, or just kind of like help, any kind of support help that an educator would need to make this education happen in their setting, classroom or outside of classroom time. Our menu of support includes some of the things on your screen here, but really that's just the things that we listed to prompt ideas. And if there's some other form of support or help that would be useful for an educator to deliver this, we want to know about it, and we'll make every effort to fulfill that. So whether it's like coming out and teaching in person or presenting to somebody, some of the main ways of support that we've heard, and I'll kind of highlight a couple things here. We know that bike education can't really happen unless students have access to a safe, reliable bicycle. MnDOT, of course, has been granting bike fleets around the state to different organizations going back almost as long as this program, 10 plus years at this point, from the first state-funded bike fleets. So this is a need that we ran into right away with this, and fortunately, a lot of communities are now, working to meet this need on a local or regional level, and so which is fantastic. We still are able to kind of cover the areas in between, or even in places that have one, but the demand is such that there's more teachers that want to use the bikes than their local fleet's able to support. We have several fleets of bikes available. You can see on the screen there's a trailer that houses the bikes. It's basically a classroom set, so the trailers are set up to hold as many as 40 bikes, depending on, periodically we'll have bikes going in and out for maintenance. And so at any given time, there's probably 35 plus bikes in each trailer. But so the intention is to have more than enough bikes for one full classroom of students. We have a couple of varieties of bikes. You can see on the screen on the left are our size adjustable bikes from Bike Friday. Bike Friday is a company in Eugene, Oregon that designed this model specifically for the Safe Routes to School program to accommodate a range of rider sizes. We also have standard bikes that were donated by Eric's Bike Shop. Those are on the right, and so you can see there's a lot of kind of medium-sized bikes. There's some taller bikes and some shorter bikes as well to accommodate riders of different sizes there. And the fleets can be requested for, we used to do 1 week reservation periods that allowed us to be at a lot of places. Hearing from teachers that 1 week is often not enough time to do all the lessons, especially if their PE classes are only meeting every other day. Some classes may only have 2 PE periods during a week, or maybe they're on an every other week cycle, or whatever the case may be. So we're more flexible on that. I think 2 weeks is kind of our average right now, but depending on availability, that could be longer or shorter too. And so in order to be eligible to reserve a classroom set, we do ask that teachers have previously completed the Walk Bike Fun Educator training. So that's kind of an incentive for folks to participate in that, and then be really well prepared for using the bikes when they arrive at the school. Another service that we've been asked to provide and have been doing is around bike maintenance. And so, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to go out and be responsible for 40 kids and their moving parts, especially if the students themselves aren't really adept at using the bikes and maybe causing some maintenance issues while they're riding them. Not that that would ever happen, just hypothetically. And so one of the things that helps teachers to be more confident and comfortable delivering bike education is if they themselves have a little bit more training and support around fixing some common issues that come up. And so we are offering maintenance training for people that are using those bikes, whether it's for a fleet that the district or your region has, and you're a person who's going to be responsible for them, or whether it's just, you're going to be using the bikes and you're going to be doing some rides and want to be able to troubleshoot some simple things as they come up. This kind of expands on the idea of the ABC quick check, which is our preventative maintenance check. Teaches you how to check the air, the brakes, the chain, the quick release, to make sure that the bike is safe to ride. But the ABC quick check doesn't really prepare you to change anything or repair anything if it's not functioning exactly like you'd like it to. So the basic maintenance training generally runs for 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on time folks have available. It goes through some of the common mechanical adjustments that can be done, braking, shifting, flat tire repair. That is something that we are just scheduling on demand or as interested. So we don't have a calendar with those maintenance trainings on them, but rather if you are interested in hosting one, get a few folks together. I can just work directly with anybody who is interested to pick a time, a date, come out and do a maintenance training. I do want to say it in this photo, you're seeing students who are doing this. This is high school students. Some districts are finding that a great option for keeping their own fleets maintained is to have students trained and able to do some of that maintenance in-house. And so that's exactly what you're seeing here. It's a high school, it's in their shop class. Right behind the photo we're taking there is like their cool like car that they built for doing their kart competition things. And so anyway, in the shop classes are students who are doing that as well. It's not necessarily designed or intended for students to do, but that I think this just speaks a bit to kind of the flexibility. And so we're able to and willing to work with anybody and come up with support that fits what is needed. All right, another technical assistance offering that we created based on feedback and interest was the Walk Bike Fun Ambassador training. Basically, and I've spoken on this on other calls at kind of at more length, so this is going to be just a real brief overview, but the ambassador training is basically intended for adults who wanted to provide some bike education, but outside of a formal classroom type format. So this might be interested parents. It might be like folks who are interested in doing a one-time like bike rodeo, what's pictured on the cover there of the ambassador guide, or safe routes adjacent kind of activity like a walking school bus or bike train. So another kind of support program. And so the ambassador guide, again, available for free download on the website, pulls in all of these different supporting activities. I'd say the bike rodeo is probably the main thing that people have been interested in and requesting from this. But so all of these different activities and resources are pulled together in one guide. This is the training when we do this is around 3 to 4 hour training. We go through kind of what these activities are. Most of the time, the on-bike time is spent actually setting up and then conducting the bike rodeo activities. So we have folks kind of laying out the course and then getting some direction and instruction and experience in teaching the bike rodeo skills. So this, I mean, depending on the need and the way the program's being implemented, I think there's a lot of content here and a lot of different ways to run with that. And again, the Bike Alliance is happy to work with you and to support the type of training or that's needed for you. So I talk fast and a lot, but I'd love to hear more from you, either on this call or later on we can connect outside of this. The website is a great useful resource. So I've thrown that up there again. I am trying to beat you over the head with it. So if it feels like that's what I'm doing, I am. And my email there as well. So if you'd like to connect or have questions or follow up, I'd love to hear from you and learn how we can support bike education for you.
Well, that was just great, CJ. Thank you so much for all those details. And just to like start a conversation, because sometimes we ask for questions from the crowd and we don't get much back. I'm going to throw a poll out for if anyone has a question for CJ, you can just type it down and we'll ask it out. So our first poll is launching now, and we'll give just 30 seconds if you have a question at all for CJ. And if not, that's fine too.
I have a question. Just how much has this curriculum changed since the beginning? I have been a volunteer for this for quite a while. I'm part of the bike walk group at Mankato, and we have 2 trailers with Bike Fridays. And I have been involved with helping teachers, particularly the first year or so that they were new to the whole thing. And they were very glad to get help of any kind. And I'm a league cycle instructor, and I'm also a wrench as far as fixing bikes are concerned. I have a small shop, and this has worked out very well. But I'm wondering, what are the additions to the curriculum for the teachers?
Yeah. Thanks, Richard, and thank you for all the support that you provide down in the Mankato area. I know that they're a really successful walk, bike, fun education community, and it certainly depends on folks like you who are invested in making this happen. So thank you for all the help that you are offering and able to provide down there. In terms of your question about how much the curriculum's changed, I'd say it's fairly substantial. And so, you know, I mentioned that the number of lessons is doubling from 12 to 24. The content is going to be changed quite a bit. So we've kept a lot of what was working well in the old curriculum, but we've added on to it. And so things, you know, on the pedestrian side, we're now including like personal safety lessons. The pedestrian lessons used to be really around kind of like look both ways before you cross the street for real young kids. But we previously didn't have a lot to offer to older students, you know, a junior high student. Yeah, we hear that maybe those kids can still use those basic lessons as well. But we kind of leveled it up a little bit to kind of make it more suitable. So there's things like planning or kind of doing some sort of assessments around like walking routes and planning routes and things like that. Judging about their community, and even getting into some activism, and so looking for things that they would like to have different, and then encouraging them to advocate for that, whether it's with the school or at the city level, whether that's like lighting or sidewalks or different kinds of infrastructure. So this might feed in really well to the solicitations that they was talking about earlier. So that's on the pedestrian side. On the bike side, the expansion kind of goes into more physical literacy components. And so that means 2 things. We've included the learn to ride. You know, you mentioned at the beginning kind of the curriculum in 2013 has evolved and it has expanded. So it does now have, you know, there's an adaptive toolkit that's part of our existing curriculum. We now have learn to ride as sort of a separate appendix unit. But we've made that part of the core curriculum. So the younger students are just going through kind of the balancing and the learning to ride. And then the older students are doing a little bit more with bike handling. And so, you know, previously it was kind of get on the bike, stop at the stop signs, and now you're in the street. And we've slowed that down. We've gone into a little bit more detail. And so we'll have students in the new lessons spending a bit more time working on their bike handling skills before we're sending them into kind of a destination ride. So that's kind of the high level changes. And again, I'm very excited to be able to share this when it's completed later this spring. We'll get to dive into exactly each lesson by lesson about what's new and changed. I will say too with that, you know, there's a question about whether there would be some sort of like catch-up training for, you know, teachers who have used the existing curriculum who've completed the training and are familiar with that, whether there would be some sort of like, here's the quick what's new and different version of the training. And I think where we're at right now is that that's not going to make a lot of sense because there is so much that's new and different. And so probably the recommendation will be that everybody who's teaching with the new curriculum go through and complete the training again. So that two-part, the online portion probably will be more review, but there will be some new content there. And then certainly the on-bike portion will be lots of new stuff.
Just as to continue that follow-up from the previous question from Kier. So Jenny asks, so in the new Walk Bike Fun, the existing lessons remain the same and the new lessons were added. Do you have that right?
I would say that we've incorporated the content from the existing lessons, but we didn't just keep the 8 original lessons and add 4 new ones. It was really a ground up rebuild from the curriculum. So we've kept pieces of it, but the 12 lessons are brand new.
And then previously, Kristen asked, I recall that perhaps at one point there was discussion or efforts to embed some of this training into college curriculum of educators. Is that still possible?
That's a great question. Originally, when the Walk Bike Fun curriculum was developed, the funding kind of specified that the audience was K through 8. And we're looking at changes to make that available to older grade levels too. However, one of the things that we, in the consideration of doing this is that we want students to have this information before they hit, high school or especially college. We think that, the walking and biking, especially as a lifestyle habit, is something that we want to encourage and to support at those younger ages. And so I think it's important that students are exposed to this, before they're in the high school and college age levels. The upper grade level lessons here will be suitable for high school students. We know that already teachers who have high school age students are finding and using this. And so that's something that we know is happening. And so we did have kind of an eye to that. At this time, I don't know that there's any plans for having like college level lessons. And part of that, again, just goes back to where the funding is coming from and who's eligible for that. And then the other part's just like, again, wanting students to get exposed to this information when they're still formative.
CJ, this is Kristen. I think what I meant was, as opposed to getting the teachers once they're out in the workforce, getting the teachers when they're in college being trained to be teachers. That's kind of what I meant.
Great. Thanks for the clarification there. Yeah, that's a great concept and idea. We've done a little bit of that with training college instructors who are training teachers. One of our partners at the U of M in Duluth was Lisa was working with college students, and she's actually left the state right now. So at this time, we don't have really strong contacts in the higher ed network who are training future teachers. And so I think there's an opportunity there, and we're not realizing it yet. So Kristen, I see you have contacts, and I'd love to connect with you on that.
Another question we have here is, do you offer virtual trainings for regions that are more spread out, so it can be hard to find central locations for in-person training? So for those kinds of trainings that would usually be in person, do you offer a way to make those virtual as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. And like everybody, we've been learning and changing the way we do business here with the pandemic. The curriculum right now is available to anybody who wants to use it. They can just find it, download it, use it as they're able. And the support that we offer is really around strengthening that or making it easier and better for them. So if somebody was not able to attend an in-person one, if it just wasn't convenient for timing or travel or whatever reason, they can still access the curriculum and use it that way. The virtual platform that we have will give some solid background there. Unfortunately, we're not really able to replace the on-bike lessons, the portions. Like we can't do a group ride virtually. There's just things that don't translate or that we're not equipped to deliver virtually. So for that reason, I think some of the content we still the best way to deliver that education and training is in person. So yeah, I guess that's the answer. If folks feel comfortable with what's available virtually and electronically, then great. And we know that the in-person stuff is really valuable, and we want to continue to make that available. So we are committed to traveling to all corners of the state. We're presenting to groups of whatever size. So we're really trying to understand and overcome those barriers. But the in-person stuff is just, it's hard to simulate.
Hey CJ, it's Anna. I asked that question. I was wondering more about like your technical assistance stuff more than the walk bike fun training.
Sure. Yeah, I think, as I mentioned kind of on the technical assistance menu, there's some suggestions about things that we've heard that could be useful. And if there's things that aren't specifically listed there, we want to hear about what would be useful, and we'll work to figure out how to provide the support that makes sense for you. So yeah, if there's a way that I can meet with you or stakeholders or teachers or whomever virtually, and that will be of value, I'm more than happy to do that.
Another question, we got two more questions. If educators have had the previous training, but not the updated training, can they still request use of the Bike MN bike fleet?
That is a good question. We haven't crossed that bridge yet. We haven't made it to that bridge. And I don't know that we have a definitive answer on that. I think for the time being, we're certainly still training with the existing curriculum, and that is what's available, and that's what people are using. And so for at least this coming year, we'll be using, I think that anybody who's completed training will be eligible and able to request the bike fleet. Beyond this year, once we've established the new lessons, the new curriculum, and that's been available, I think it'll be different enough that it might just be considered a new training, but I guess we don't have a definitive answer on that. So for the time being, if you've been trained, you are eligible, you're good to go. Beyond this year, we might ask folks that they do retrain.
And then the last question we have is, you mentioned the application for hosting Walk Bike Fun is rolling, but the application says the deadline is March 17th. Can you clarify that? Is it best to get something in by the 17th? Yeah,
so I think for the spring training, we do need to get those scheduled. I think what I meant by rolling is that through the rest of the year, we're going to be able to offer trainings through the summer and then into the fall. And so I think, for this, if we're trying to do something yet this school year, we're going to need to have that application in, because it is competitive, and because we're somewhat limited on the places we're able to go. For the spring training period, we do have that deadline, and then the rest of the year we'll kind of figure out as needed. So yeah, rolling is maybe the wrong term for it. We have a training season, we have a spring training season coming up, and then we have the summer, fall that will follow from that. And so.
And then another question came in, will you be sending out information to previously trained schools regarding the updated training requirement in the next year? Yes, absolutely. Fortunately, we've had a lot of contacts. We've got a pretty solid email list of folks that have been trained and worked with us on the curriculum. As soon as we have the new curriculum available, that will go out to everybody. We're going to encourage people to start downloading it, finding it. And again, if people are confident using it right away, we want people to be able to do that. And we know that the in-person training is important for a lot of teachers too, to be more confident and comfortable with the material. And so we're looking forward to getting going with the new training as well. But certainly everybody who we have contact information for will be notifying and sharing that the new curriculum as soon as we have it. Great. Well, thanks so much, CJ. Your overall knowledge of this is exhaustive. Like I really thought someone was going to stump you with one of these questions, but you've really got quite a breadth on it. So thank you so much. It's been great info. Before we end here and kind of preview for next week, I've just got a couple other little polls I want to try out and see what folks come up with. So the second one's about the walk bike fun. I'm going to launch it real quick and just take a second and see what would be most useful in your community. Dave, if you want to chime in some Jeopardy music for us, that'd be great.
I was actually going to ask you why a bike can't stand up on its own.
I don't know.
Oh, it's too tired. Wah, wah.
Not bad. All right, we'll just do 15 more seconds here. We're getting a lot of responses, which is great. This time I will share the responses with the group. All right. Share results. All right, can you guys see these? So, which walk bike fun resources has your community taken advantage of? Training for educators is the big one. Technical assistance, 5 folks. The mobile bike fleet, that actually impresses me. A lot of people have used this. Just a couple folks doing maintenance training, a couple folks doing ambassador training. Then in the longer answers, we've just got a lot of effusive praise for CJ. CJ, you're great to work with. CJ is great. Bike MN has supported many educators and schools get their bike ed programs up and running through trainings. Great experience when using the fleet at the end of the season. More praise of CJ. So tip of the hat to you, CJ. We're gonna do one more poll. I think we got time for. And this one we'll just do quickly. Since the last one was what resources have you used? I'm just curious to which ones you think you will use in the future.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. Wait, is it still sharing my screen?
Oh, sorry. I think it might be because I'm still a presenter that I can see the back end of the polls.
Okay.
I don't know if that's sharing to everybody else or not.
Yeah, we'll just do 10 more seconds. And we'll share these. Again, it looks like training for educators is the big winner. Technical assistance and mobile bike fleets. It looks like half the respondents look like they'll be using. Maintenance training is also up there, which is great. I think maintaining those fleets is going to be really important in the future as more and more schools get fleets. And then ambassador training, which is kind of a newer one, is got some serious interest. So great. I think we'll leave the last poll for next time. So just quickly for our next.
Before you transition, Eric,
Yes,
I think
please.
CJ had his hand up.
Please.
Oh.
I was just clapping. Glad to see excitement and participation.
Yeah. So for our next network call, we're going to do something a little bit different. we're going to be doing the Safe Routes Social, which will be less structured, a little bit more of a space for you to converse with your colleagues and to talk about successes, things that are working, things that aren't. We really hope that everyone can come, whether you have experience, whether you have successes, whether you don't. So you can come in and cheer on things that you've done. You can come on and say, hey, I'm just dipping my toes in Safe Routes to Schools work and try to learn from others. So we're really excited for it. Another space to converse, but we're excited for next month and we'll see you there. So thank you. Thank you so much all for being here today. And thank you again, CJ, for answering all of the questions.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, y'all.